Hey everyone, welcome to Manna Online. My name is Jeff Bullock. I'm the pastor here at Manna Church High Point. So happy that you're joining us this morning for the next 45 minutes to an hour. We're going to sing some songs. We're going to have a great time. We're going to hear a powerful message from Jefferson Bullock as we continue our series about grieving entitled Good Grief. Hey, listen, if you've been impacted by our worship service online, why don't you just take a minute and copy this link and paste it on your social media page, or even better, why don't you text a friend, text them the link and invite them to watch this service with you online. We want the message of Jesus Christ to get out to as many people as possible. Here at Manna, we do three things. We love God, we love each other, and we love the world. Now, if you'd like to continue to stay connected with us, we want to encourage you to do that three ways. One, just continue to join our online worship experience. We'd love to see you each week. Number two, you can join one of our small groups. And I want to remind you, we have small groups online as well. Or number three, if you feel comfortable, we'd love to have you join us for our 11 a.m. in-person service. Now, you can find out all these details on our website, or you can simply text MCHP Connect to 94090. We think it's very important to stay connected, especially now when we feel so disconnected. Hey, we always want to take a moment to say thank you, Manna Church, and all of those who give to us each week, each month. Your incredible generosity allows us to stay on mission. Now, if you'd like to begin to give, you can go to our website, or you can simply text MCHP Give to 94090. Your generosity and your giving helps us to stay on mission, which is to equip God's people to change their world through the life-giving message of Jesus Christ. So we're so excited about today's online worship experience, and our great prayer and our great hope is for you, that you will get connected with God, that you will get encouraged, and you will continue to grow. So let's get ready, because church starts now.
When I met you, oh, you called my name, and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness, into your glorious day. You called my name, and I ran out of that your spirit I will rise from the ashes of defeat. The resurrected King is resurrecting me. In your name I come alive to declare your victory. The resurrected King is resurrecting me. By your spirit I will rise from the ashes of defeat. The resurrected King is resurrecting me. In your name I come alive to declare your victory. The resurrected King is resurrecting me. He's resurrecting me. Oh, the tomb where soldiers watched in vain was borrowed for 3 days. His body there would not remain. Our God has robbed the grave, and our God has robbed the grave. Yes, He has. Yes, He has. He's robbed the grave. It's your name is victory. And all praise will rise to Christ our King. And your name is victory. And all praise will rise to Christ our King. By your spirit I will rise from the ashes of defeat. The resurrected King is resurrecting me. In your name I come alive to declare your victory. The resurrected King is resurrecting me. The resurrected King is resurrecting me. He's resurrecting me. Oh.
To be completely honest, I'm a little tired of hearing that 2020 has been a rough year. I mean, I don't know about you. It's like, I think we can all agree that it's been a tough year. You know, from the loss of jobs to the coronavirus to many celebrities passing: Kobe Bryant, the Black Panther, recently Alex Trebek, Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor. There's protests, there's riots, police officers are at risks. You've lost your jobs, you've lost friendships, and worst of all, you've probably and maybe have lost loved ones. To say that this year has been tough, I'm just tired of hearing about it. And it's not even an exhaustive list, all the things that I've said, the many more lives that have been lost, the many more tensions and struggles, our mental health. There's a lot of things that didn't go as planned, and by all means, I'm tired of it. But not to say that there aren't good things too. I mean, I moved into a new home, I got married. These are just the personal things that are going well in my life that I like to share with you. But there's probably been some good things in your life as well, and I think it's important that we take time to remember those things. So how is it that joy and sorrow can coexist? Today, We are finishing a series called Good Grief, where we've been on this journey through the 5 stages of grief. And we're really looking at this year and the things that we've lost in terms of the grieving process. And it's been a deep couple weeks, to say the least. We've talked about denial, we've talked about bargaining, and we've talked about anger, and we've talked about depression, and hopefully it's all been helpful, but I understand that it's also been difficult to process. I mean, it's been really good, and we're seeking wholeness and we're seeking health, but I don't think I really started to realize that I myself had been in a grieving process. Not until I was really going through this series with the small group that I'm a part of, and we're starting to talk about denial. We're starting to talk about depression and anger and actually how it plays out in our lives. I'd like to think that I'm pretty self-aware, but until I had the language and until I had the words and until I had the structure of what the grieving process is, I don't think I really realized that I've actually been in an elongated time of grief, which is known as 2020. But then as I reflect over my life some more, I realized that I've actually grieved a lot of other things. I had grieved the loss of friendships. I had grieved the loss of ultimately its control. And at the times where I feel like I don't have control, we try to bargain. In times we feel like we don't have control, we act out in anger because maybe it's the one emotion that we actually have any sense of control over. And as we walk through all these confusing feelings in this journey that we're calling grief, we come to this final stage known as acceptance. And as elusive as grief may feel, I think maybe this last stage feels really out of reach. It's like acceptance. What does that mean? Once I reach acceptance, that means all the emotions go away, right? That all the bad feelings, that all the anger leaves. I finally stopped bargaining. I stopped acting out. I stopped denying, and my life is just back to normal. I cannot wait for acceptance because that means I'm no longer hurting. And if I accept the death of a loved one, and I accept the loss of my job, and I accept the loss of control, I'm okay, everything's fine, I'm fine. Unfortunately, I don't think that is the case. This is what the internet says about acceptance. The last stage of grief identified by Kubler-Ross is acceptance. Not in the sense that it's okay my significant other died, but my husband died and I'm going to be okay. In this stage, your emotions may begin to stabilize. You re-enter reality. You come to terms with the fact that the new reality is that your partner is never coming back, or that you are going to succumb to your illness and die soon, and you're okay with that. It's not a good thing, but it's something you can live with. It is definitely a time of adjustment and readjustment. Along with phrases like 2020 has been a rough year for all of us. Another phrase that I'm tired of, maybe we'll call it 2020's greatest hits, is I'll pray for you. Another one of 2020's greatest hits is new normal. Oh my goodness. If I hear new normal one more time, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I probably won't act out because self-control. 2020's greatest hits. I can't wait for new normal. I'm just readjusting. I'm just trying to figure out my schedule. I'm tired. It's been hard. So what does acceptance really mean for us as we're grieving? I think, and by no means am I a psychologist, a therapist. I'm just a person, and I've thought a lot about this. And when it comes to acceptance, I think that acceptance is the end of grieving and the beginning of healing. I think acceptance is the end of grieving and the beginning of healing. Because as we come to the end of our grieving process, however long the journey is, however the journey looks like, acceptance takes place and learning, adjusting, and readjusting begin to take place. I've finally accepted the reality of what I've lost. It could be that significant other. Maybe you're finally accepting the loss of your job. And might I add that the loss of your job is really more of a surface level loss. Because when you go beneath the layer and you go underneath the surface, what you've really lost and what you've come to the reality is that maybe your ego's been taking a hit. Maybe you've realized, I'm not actually upset that I lost the job, but what I'm upset about is that I feel like I'm not good enough. Because not everybody lost their job, so am I just disposable? Am I a person that is not worth keeping around? That's what we're coming to the sense of, a sense of reality that I lost my job, I get it. But there's something deeper going on in my life. And when we come to this acceptance, now something happens. We have to go on a journey of healing. I think, of course, grieving and the whole grieving process is a part of healing. But until acceptance occurs, we usually don't begin to take steps to learn what it is to live life again, to readjust to what the new reality is. And it's hard. It's really hard. But that's how we begin to seek wholeness. Right? When grieving is happening, we're just figuring out how to survive. Whatever the loss is, the loss of control, the loss of your schedule, we're just trying to figure out how to survive. We're just coping. Coping with the pain, attempting somehow to make sense of all this. I'm just trying to gain control. I'm just grasping for air. So when we move into acceptance, it's no longer about just surviving, but it's learning what it is that we might thrive once more. So what's this place in the middle? The place between just trying to survive to thrive. I don't want to just survive anymore. I really want to thrive, but what is this gap? I think many times this gap is enduring. And it all really starts with acceptance. And this place of enduring is not fun, but it's essential to healing. So I want to turn to the Bible. I've been talking for about 10 minutes now, and you're like, are we in church? Are we going to look at Jesus? I promise we're going to do that. So in the Bible, which we believe to be true and reveals the master plan for reconciling humanity back to God, it centers around this key character. It's a real person named Jesus, and Jesus is actually God. He's fully God, but he came to earth born in human flesh. So he's fully God, fully human. And in Matthew 26, it tells the journey of Jesus on his way to the cross. And on the cross, we come to know that he dies for all of sin. 3 days later, he rises again, defeating the power of sin, the power of death, and now offers us eternal life. But before all this happens, really it's the night before, he goes away to pray. And we see Jesus grieve. Really, in these few scriptures, in the short passage, we see really almost a fullness of the grieving process. So if you have your Bibles, I encourage you to get your Bible out. I have mine here. But if you don't have a Bible, that's okay. It's going to be on the screen for us, so you can read along. I'm going to read about 10 verses in Matthew 26, verses 36 through 46. So I'm going to pause a little bit in between and make a few comments. But this is what it says. Then Jesus went with them to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to his disciples, "Sit here while I go over there and pray." And taking with him Peter and the two sons of Zebedee, James and John. So Peter's with all his disciples. He says, "I need to go pray. James, Peter, and John, I need you guys to come with me." And it says, he began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then he said to them, the three guys that he took with him, "My soul is very sorrowful, even to death. Remain here and watch with me." And going a little further, he fell on his face and prayed. Might I say that this is pretty apparent that Jesus is entering into a depressive episode. He said, guys, Peter, James, John, I need you to be here with me. I need to go and pray by myself for a little bit, but I need you close by. I'm sorrowful. Like, I'm really sad to the point of death. Like, I'm so sad I don't know if I want to live anymore. The things that are going in my brain, the thoughts that I'm having, I'm done. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to go to work. I have lost all appetite for life. The things that once brought me joy seem bleak. But Jesus, he says, "God, I need you to be here with me." Three of his closest friends, I need to go and pray. And this is what Jesus says. He's praying with his face to the ground. And he says, "My Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will." And this seems to be reflective of a little bit of the bargaining process. Jesus is asking God, if there's any other way, I really don't want to die on the cross. I really don't want to be brutally beaten because it's going to be super painful. But God, if it's your will, I'll do it. Verse 40, and he came to the disciples and found them sleeping, and he said to Peter, "So could you not watch me 1 hour? Watch and pray that you may not enter in temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak." So he's coming to Peter and the disciples. They've fallen asleep. And he's like, "Are you serious? I asked you to be my guy. I asked you to be here and pray with me, to protect me, to watch out for me, to really fight for me in the spirit. But here you are sleeping. I got to go back and pray again." So verse 42, again for the second time he went and prayed, "My Father, if this cannot pass unless I drink it, but your will be done." And again he came out and found them sleeping, for their eyes were heavy. Verse 44, so leaving them again, he went away and prayed for the third time, saying the same words again. Then he came to disciples and said to them, "Sleep and take your rest later on. See, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners." He bargains with God 3 times because he is so depressed. And he comes to the disciples each time, and I can imagine he's furious. Like, Jesus is fuming. He's, "Are you serious? I'm trying to pray. I'm fighting for my life. You obviously don't get it. All I asked is that you be on my team. All I asked is that you pray. Just stay up. Like, do you not understand what's going on?" So in this grieving process, there's bargaining, there's anger, there's depression. And I think here in verse 46, Matthew 26:46, the last verse in this passage really caught my eye. This is what Jesus says to his friends. He says, "Rise, let us be going. See, my betrayer is at hand." I love this phrase. Rise, let us be going. Acceptance. Jesus, finally after this depressive episode and seemingly not lashing out in anger, but you can see that he's frustrated and bargaining, he makes this decision. I can just see Jesus take a breath and rise. Let us be going, for my betrayer is at hand. There's this acceptance of what's about to happen. That not only is he going to be betrayed, but he's going to be taken into captivity. Might I add, an innocent man, and he knows that he's going to be brutally beaten. Rise. This moment, I think for us, in the end of grieving, there is this moment for us when we must decide to say, rise. When we will no longer be defined by our scars, but choose to be refined by them. It's really the acceptance of the reality. Not that the reality is okay, but that the reality is here and that I will be okay. And for those that are Christ followers, we are able to rise even higher than we can imagine because we put our trust and our foundation of our lives in Jesus. And it is Christ's strength that is made perfect in our weakness. And I know I don't want to over-spiritualize. Maybe that's what you're thinking, that, Jefferson, I don't need another verse. Jefferson, I don't need another good saying about how Christ will be made perfect and strong in my weakness. I don't want to be weak anymore. No, hey, I get it. And this is not void of therapy, and this is not void of counseling. I mean, you know me. If you know me at all, you know I'm a big supporter of counseling and therapy. But let us not forget that we have Jesus, truly Christ, the Holy Spirit that gives us more than we could ever imagine, that actually will heal us. He will comfort us. He does give us strength to simply rise. And then rise, let us be going. I like how it says it, because there's a sense of journey here. It's not, I rise and my life is perfect, but it's rise and I commit to the journey. Even if that means entering it into some stages of grief again, maybe experiencing some anger and depression. And this going is not a letting go of. There's some things that you don't have to let go of when you accept. You don't have to let go of the memories of your loved one. But we do have to let go of the expectations of the future. We have to let go of what we may want and what we may want life to look like. But we will say, I will rise and I will take steps. Even if it's just one step at a time. I don't have to let go of the fond memories, and I don't have to let go of love. You can actually add to love. But one thing that we will let go of is fear. We will let go of guilt. We will let go of shame and negative self-talk and condemnation. Specifically, those that have lost a loved one. It is okay to live with joy. It is okay to have times of joy and fun. I think the best thing that you can do to honor those that have passed is to live life to the best of your ability by becoming who you're supposed to be so you can do what you're supposed to do. Rise, let us be going. I will take breaths once more, and I will stand up on the foundation of Christ. And I'll go. And I say, I will commit to healing. I will commit to Jesus. I will commit to friendships, even when my betrayer is at hand. Jesus, rise, let us be going, for my betrayer is at hand. He literally says, hey, it's time to go. I'm about to be given to the authorities that are going to take me and beat me. I think for us, when we accept, we rise and we go, even knowing that there's going to be difficult days ahead. Even knowing that we're going to be depressed sometimes, even knowing that right around the corner may be the very face of evil, that we may have to confront spiritual warfare, that we know that anniversaries and birthdays are going to be there to remind us of the times, and we know that hard days and bad days and sad days and unproductive days, and even when days when you feel like nothing can go right, but we say, I will rise and I will keep going. Even when I know I'm going to be going through the valley. I can't go around it. I can't go up and over it. But I will go through it. And Jesus will be with me even in the valley and even in the fire and in the times we want to pray for God to remove all the pain and to take us out of the hard circumstances. Maybe we change our prayers today. We say, Jesus, give me strength. And Jesus, give me courage. And Jesus, give me hope. And Jesus, refine me. And Jesus, grow my capacity and grow my heart that I may experience love and joy and peace and friendship once more. This is the hard work of acceptance. Because acceptance, we've finally gone through most of the grieving, past surviving, and now I want to thrive, but I must endure first. And it's this journey of healing and seeking wholeness. By no means am I asking you to just get over it. And I'm sorry if those are the words of so-called wisdom that you have received from friends, family members, and maybe other church leaders. Just get over it. It's time. Grief looks so different for each of us. And I know that even in this series, when we're talking about grieving the loss of a job and our schedules, is very, very different than grieving the loss of friends, family members, and loved ones. And so it's easier to say, rise, let us be going, even when my betrayer is at hand, for when we've lost our jobs and routines. It's easier to say a little bit, hey, it actually might be time for us to stand up and start putting in some job applications. It might be time if we start waking up at 8 a.m. and getting into a good routine and schedule. For some of us, that is the word and the encouragement today. But I'm not trying to impose what the grieving process looks like for you, and the pain and the deep, deep sorrow, and when it feels like life itself has been ripped out from underneath you. I'm not asking you to get over it. I'm not asking you to forget. I'm asking you in your heart to trust Jesus. I'm asking you to take the path of Jesus. I'm asking you to choose to seek hope. That once again you might not just survive, but you will thrive. I'm asking you to talk to someone, to take a step. If I have one practical step for you today, because I really only do have one, because it's so hard in the grieving process and the journey looks so different. But this I know, that it is so much harder to do it alone. I think there is a difference between solitude and seclusion. Solitude is really important. We see Jesus in this passage take a time of solitude, to go and pray by himself, to seek the Father. And sometimes we need some extended days to weep, to pray, to worship, to work through our emotions by ourselves. But that doesn't mean we have to be lonely. Even if we're working through things alone, we don't have to be lonely. See, Jesus invites his three closest friends, Peter, James, and John. He said, I need you here just here with me. In the vicinity, I need you praying for me. I need you warring in the Spirit for me. See, but if we're not careful, solitude can quickly turn into seclusion. And seclusion is shutting people out. Seclusion is not letting anyone in. Seclusion leads you to believe the lies that are going on in your head. They don't care about me. They actually forgot about me. They don't want me. They don't think I'm good enough. Actually, God doesn't even think that I'm good enough. I must have been a mistake. I'm never going to get healed. I'm never going to get back into my routine. I'm never going to get a new job. I'm never going to love again. I'm never going to have joy. What is life? Is life even worth living? Doubt it. That's what seclusion will do. May I encourage you today that you are good enough, that we haven't forgot about you, that God hasn't forgot about you, and that there are people in your life that love you and want to support you. There's probably people even praying for you and that are on your team, and they want to be in your life and they want to support you and they want to be there for you, but you're not letting them. Maybe your step today in the rise and let us be going is simply calling someone, letting somebody know the hurt, letting people love you, letting God love you and minister to you and restore you and heal you and begin the journey of wholeness. You know, for the next few minutes, we're going to do something that we've never really done before on our online experience. We're going to actually, before we sing one more time, I want to give you a time where you can actually process right now. We're going to put some questions up on the screen for you, and there'll be some music in the background. And well, only about 5 minutes. And I know that sometimes it's easy to be a part of church and hear a message about Jesus and be like, wow, that was good, and I needed that today. Then we just go about our day and wait for next week. But maybe these past few weeks you've really been taking the time to process. But if you haven't, I want to encourage you that we do that right now. So I'm going to pray for us, and some questions will come up on the screen. And I ask that you take these next few moments to pray and be honest with yourself. You're doing so much better than you think you are. God loves you. We love you. We're on your team. And we want to embark on this journey of healing and wholeness. Maybe for the first time today, you're entering into acceptance. I'm just going to let you know that these next few months, weeks, years may be hard as we learn to endure to a place where we're thriving, as we're on the journey of healing. But you don't have to do it alone, and we want to do it with you. So let me pray for you. Lord, I thank you that you are a good God, that you are a gracious God, that you are faithful to us. Lord, in all the things that we might have lost this year, we declare that you are still faithful, you are still good, that you still love us. So Lord, in these next few moments as we worship and we pray and we process, I pray that you reveal things, that you just tap on the things that need acceptance and forgiveness. Lord, that you give us the courage that we can stand and say, rise, let us be going on the journey, because we put our trust in you. Lord, will you get the glory in our lives? Amen. We love you so much.
we're standing here only because you made a way, made a way. When our backs were against the wall and it looked as if it was over, you made a way. And we're standing here only because you made a way. As you move mountains, as you cause walls to fall with your power, perform miracles. There is nothing that's impossible. And we're standing here only because you made, 'cause you move mountains and you cause walls to fall with your power. Perform miracles, and there is nothing that's impossible. And we're standing here only because you move mountains, you cause walls to fall with your power. Oh, perform miracles. There is nothing that's impossible. And we're standing here only because you made a way. And we're standing here only because you made a way. And we're standing here only because you made a way.
Hey, what a great morning we've had. We've really loved going through this series with you and walking through grief together. And in fact, that's how we really should walk through grief and in life, is doing that together. And we don't want you to do that alone. And if you'd like to continue to know a little bit more about who we are and where we're going and all things that we are doing here in our city, we'd like to encourage you to be a part of our Growth Track. Growth Track is a great way to continue to know God, to discover the gifts and talents that are on the inside of you, the way He's created you. And so we want to invite you to be a part of Growth Track. We have that in person as well as online. Just simply text MCHP Growth Track to that same number, 94090. I want to tell you about a series that is beginning next week. It's called The Rock. That's an acronym that stands for Reach Out Celebration. And it's during these next 3 weeks, as we talk about our outreach and what God's called us to do, we want you to be a part of that. Not just be a part of what we're doing, find out what your part is to reach your world. So join us next week for The Rock. Can't wait to see you. Love you. God bless.